All right, guys. This is an important video today, especially to the people that I'm coaching and helping. Um, this is the moral of the story here. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. Over the last few years, specifically, in that time where all our lives got turned upside down. If I'd known this stuff then, it would have been a lot different, especially how I would have handled it. And to be honest with you, like everybody, I was scared shitless. Just watching CNN, watching the cases go up and the deaths and all this stuff, and it was freaking me out. So I realized I could do two things. I could either just sit back and hope for the best, or I could start learning about what all this shit is. And I decided to take it upon myself to become knowledgeable in, what a virus is. I became an immune system ninja, so to speak. I took courses, I took seminars, workshops, read books. A very, very great, it's a great book. It's called The Immunity Fix by Dr. James DiNicolantonio and Sim Land. And, if you want to know about your immune system, this is a great book. It covers a lot of things, specifically on why and what these terms are. And I can tell, half the book is references from the scientific literature. So it's very well researched and very well put together. And it covers a lot of things from, what your immune system is, to boosting your immune system, to the nutrients that you need for an effective immune system. And, when I'm warning you now because I'm seeing it happen again. And, there's stuff going around that, I don't care what you believe. They're already talking about the next one, disease X, or whatever you want to call it. So I'm gonna offer my advice to become as healthy as you possibly can. Why? Because that is your best defense. In the worst case scenario, your body will be a lot more resilient. In the best case scenario, you breeze right through it with little or no effect on you, right? And it just makes sense. So you don't have to do what I did and learn about this stuff. But first, we're gonna look at some coincidences, and I'm always talking about foundational health. So this may be a little bit of a workshop. It may be a bit of so grab a coffee and sit down. But I'm gonna try and get this stuff to the essential takeaways. And take some time, listen to this, and if you have any questions, you can always message me. And we're gonna get into more details about other things aside from this. But I think this is a perfect time to be forewarned is forearmed. And if you want to build a suit of armor around yourself, this is a great way to do it. And just to realize some things, and we'll find some great takeaways. Okay. First of all, I'm not a doctor. I'm not a scientist. We all know that. But I have taken it upon myself to learn about my body, my health, and I've done some pretty amazing things as far as my health and turning around a lot of conditions, from reversing prediabetes to, just feeling great every day. So, if I'd known this before the pandemic, I would have been a lot more going into it with a lot more confidence and a lot more peace of mind, so to speak. So first of all, let's look at viruses. So whatever they throw at us, it doesn't matter. Viruses we're exposed to them in nature all the time. So our immune system is, God and Mother Nature designed a great system for us to be resilient to these pathogens and certain environmental dangers. The immune system there's two sides of it. The innate immune system, which is given to us by our mothers, and it's passed down to us, which is our first line of defense. And then our adaptive immune system, which our body can recognize pathogens and viruses and cause a memory. So when your immune system remembers, it has less of an effect. So when people talk about the viruses and they talk about viral load, so when you're exposed to a virus, that does not necessarily mean you're going to get infected. There's a lot of things that happen, and the first line of defense is our skin and our mucous membranes, in our throat, in our sinuses. That's, not to mention vitamin A becomes a very important part, but we'll get into the nutrition side later. But a virus, and this is just, this is not scientific. I'm just going to try and keep it as simple as possible. Viruses, when we get exposed to them, these 6 things happen, and they can all happen sort of in sort of different phases and different amounts. But it's over 7 to 10 days. That's why a lot of times you're contagious before you're symptomatic. So what they do is they attach, and based on how your body is, it may pass through you, or it could attach, and then it's present. So that doesn't mean anything yet, because what it does is that's the invasion part. So the virus, depending on the viral load, how much of the virus you're exposed to will depend on how strong of an invasion it is. Then what it starts to do is it starts to manipulate itself. It starts to hide because it doesn't want an immune response right away. Remember, viruses are living, so they want to survive as well. So they don't want to necessarily, it's not necessarily viruses kill you. They are certain, they want to replicate. They want to thrive. So then what happens is they'll whatever the virus is prone to in your body, it will attach. So it can attach to certain cell receptors or certain different parts of your body. And then what it does is it hijacks it. So it takes it over and becomes sort of the present. Then it starts to assemble in that area because it's still going unseen relatively. And then it releases, well, you could argue, the pathogen. So it starts to replicate and starts to go crazy. Now, the idea of your immune system is to stop that before it starts to replicate out of control. And there's some certain things. Now, I always talk about foundational health, and this is where it comes down to. Movement, sleep, breath, we have to breathe, and diet, nutrition, and love. But love, we're gonna. This is all part of it. Loving yourself first. So, what we need for our immune system, certain nutrients help our immune system build resilience, and it's kind of like it affect the nutrients make the immune system more effective. Now, when your immune system's going down the pathways, it starts off, and there's signaling proteins all over the place. You call them cytokines, peptides, whatever. And there's two sides. So when the cell is, then there's the white blood cells, which are different cells that help your immune system operate. So 2 proteins are very important: beta defensins and cathelicidins, and they're signaling proteins that signal pathways to do what? Well, beta defensin would be your innate immune system that signals macrophages, and what they do is they come in and they engulf and they blast through the viral shell and they kind of circulate, and that's what you want. I mean, it's our first line of defense. It's kind of like danger, here they come, they eat it up, and then you might get mild symptoms, but it's not, that's what we want. That's the ideal part, is our innate immune system taking over. If it goes the other way, the adaptive immune system, based on how your body's signaling, will depend on how your body reacts, where it sort of splits. One pathway is good, which is an anti-inflammatory pathway. The other one is bad, and it's an inflammatory pathway. So as the white blood cells and all these signaling proteins and receptors are getting signaled, the virus is trying to take over, and the immune system's fighting the virus. So based on how well these signals get transmitted will be how your body reacts. So we hear stuff like cytokine storm, and how that happens is basically it's either the immune system's overwhelmed or there's not enough signaling molecules to push it towards the antigen way, which means your beta cells get memory, and it causes this immune response, which, generally will take care of itself. Now, the cytokine storm, which we hear about, is basically when your body panics and the immune system doesn't know what's going on, so it's sending all these signals, all these things, and what it is just basically your body's last-ditch attempt to take control. And this can affect your organs. It can affect your all different sort of tissues. Very inflammatory. You're going to be sick. Okay, that is your other side of your adaptive immune system. So how do we fight this? How do we stop that from happening? Well, here we go. We're going to break it down in the foundations. Exercise. So if you can suppress your immune system, you can boost your immune system. And this is a good idea. So exercise, what does it do? I got some notes. So it heightens your immune surveillance. So all the signals, it's on patrol. It's on alert. Increased lymph circulation. So your lymphatic system doesn't have a heartbeat, so you have to move. So you've heard stuff about lymphatic draining, and so your lymph system is beside your circulatory, your blood. So it's important, and all your lymph nodes are these like central hubs for all your immune system. So it's important to have lymph circulation. So that's movement. Just moving lets the lymph flow, which is good because you don't want stagnant lymph. It delays effect of aging the immune system. So it's keeping it up. It's keeping it on its toes. The exercise stresses you out and then causes a reaction. So it's an adaptation, so to speak. So it's building resilience. Enhanced immune defense and response. So that's that pathway, right? Like it's going to be, and it also lowers your mental stress. Stress, we know now, also depletes and pushes your immune system down. So just exercising, just with those sort of basic ideas, it's a good idea to move. You do not want to be sitting isolated, locked down, and not being able to move. You want to be moving because it's very good for circulation, for lymphatic flow, for blood flow. Now, we're going to talk about sleep. Sleep deprivation, okay? And this is a very general, broad term. But what does sleep deprivation do? So when you're sleep deprived, and everybody's probably going to be a little bit different on a spectrum, but what it does is it's growth hormone depletes. It stops growth hormone. Growth hormone is a very powerful hormone that helps us build and keep our youth. As we get older, growth hormone naturally subsides. So we want to get as much growth hormone as we can. So you want to be rested and regenerating. Sleep deprivation raises cortisol and increases adrenaline. So that's your fight or flight response. That's your nervous system activation. It decreases T cells and cytokine peak. So we hear about cytokine storm, and cytokines are signaling proteins, signaling peptides that will cause certain responses. Cytokine storm means it's overwhelmed and they're all flooding to the area. But what happens is if when you're sleep deprived, that gets disrupted a little bit. So you're not going to be, the difference between going the anti-inflammatory way or the inflammatory way could be when you're immune compromised, well, whether it's disease, whether it's sick, whether you're unhealthy or you're sleep deprived. So that's why when you're sleep deprived, you're immune compromised. So it's a good idea to keep track of your sleep. It decreases your killer T cells, which is very valuable to fighting the immune defense. And it also decreases the speed of your white blood cells fighting infection. So how much your response gets called is going to be, can be very affected by sleep. And it's also memory of your immune function. So the antigen and your beta cell production and how your body remembers this. When you're sleep deprived or when you're drained and low, it just shows you that the immune response is lagging. It's not as robust. So that's sleep, that's movement. Next one is sugar. Yeah, sugar. Okay, what does that do? Sugar, how sugar affects your immune system. Inhibited chemotaxis, which is basically movement of your white blood cells to the infection. So it's going to call on these macrophages, which are these things that engulf the virus. And when that's impaired, inhibited, it just doesn't work as well. So it's causing that inflammatory cascade. Impaired phagocytosis, which means the replication of these white blood cells. There's less neutrophils and macrophages. Basically, what means is there's less weapons against this virus. Inhibited complement cascade, which means when they're all working together. So as your immune system sort of, this is all a big dance, and it helps get together and do its thing. Sugar causes acidosis, which is, your blood's acidic. And, they talk about beef being acidic. Well, sugar, reactive oxygen species, free radical damage, all of it is tied into high sugar. What does this say? If you're diabetic or pre-diabetic or high blood sugar, all these things are happening. So it's a good idea for our immune system to keep your blood sugar at a reasonable level, let alone, not spiking your insulin and not letting your blood sugar go out of control. If you're eating a lot of sugar, it slows white blood cells moving through tissues. So it's going to slow the response down, which is going to cause more inflammation. Your blood flow gets diminished. Your blood vessels get more constricted, so there's less oxygen, and that increases anaerobic bacteria and fungal attraction. So they love, we know that in your gut, sugar ferments. All these bacteria and the fungus and the virus, they love this shit. And then there's less innate immunity. So your skin gets weaker, your mucous lining gets less. So it's a really good idea to start thinking about this stuff with sugar. And now, breath. Just there, when we said oxygen, you want your blood really healthy. You want your vasodilation, which is your blood cells, your endothelial lining, receptive to oxygen and respiring properly. So breath work is a good idea. It does so many things. Calms your nervous system, which will have an effect on your immune system. They've shown Wim Hof actually caused an immune response doing breath work when he got ejected with E. coli. I know E. coli is a bacteria, but the same thing can happen with the immune response. When you're in tune and you're breathing properly, everything is, nitric oxide is being created, and it's letting you breathe. It's what life is. So you want to talk about prana, chi, life energy. This is all part of it. So doing some breath work is a great idea. Now, when we look at these things, and I know it sounds a little muddy, but when it was in the height of pandemic, who suffered? Who is the most vulnerable? Comorbidities, immune compromised. Diabetes comes into play here. The rate was basically, I think it's 99.2% of all deaths from the pandemic. People had metabolic syndrome and were immune compromised. What does that tell you? It's probably a good idea to get as healthy as you can, because insert virus here, it doesn't matter, because this response is your natural way of fighting. So you don't want to be on the receiving end of a poorly functioning immune system when the next one comes along and presents itself. So this is really important. 90% of those people had essential hypertension. What does that mean? They don't know what causes it. Well, I can tell you, it's probably diet related and sugar. So, and then those people with compensatory hyperinsulinemia, which means high insulin in the blood. You see the ties here? It's all relative. They don't want you to know this. They never mentioned during the pandemic that, healthy, robust people, you know what? Actually, they did. They said even they get infected. But you know what? When you're, we'll say, a high performance athlete, or you do something that you're normally healthy, but for a period of time, you're immune compromised. So you do a heavy workout or a long distance run or something that, or you got stressed out and didn't sleep one night. Well, you're susceptible to all this happening for a short amount of time before your immune system and your body builds back. So there is temporary immunocompromisation as well. So the idea is to be as resilient as you can. And if you were going to do a crazy workout or crazy, you're going to be immune compromised, the idea would be then to keep to yourself and try not to be exposed to the virus. So there's lots of things out there. They never told us about this. They just told us to stay indoors, isolate, wear a mask. And when you realize that there's some things that you can do, and one of the best things you can do is get healthy. When you just know that your immune system's firing on all cylinders, that's some confidence. And this next one, we don't know when it's coming. So the good news is we have some time, and you can start getting healthier really quickly. You can start to decrease your insulin levels in your blood very quickly. You can stop eating sugar. You can stop the and there's another thing, vitamin D. I did a course on vitamin D, and when you look at what it does from your gene transcriptions to your immune system modulator to what it does with actual DNA, mRNA, look at what those jabs did. If you have sufficient vitamin D, it looks like the same thing, except this is artificial and this is natural. So you want to be vitamin D aware. This is a big deal, and it's not a coincidence they didn't tell us, or they told us to not worry about vitamin D. That's 100% bullshit, and it's one of those things that are very important. So vitamin D is important. Zinc. Being sufficient in zinc, it helps your immune system profoundly. So you don't want to be I'm not going to have to tell you where you find a lot of zinc, right? Once in a while, I'll eat some oysters for a little zinc boost, but zinc is found in meat. Vitamin C, even though on the carnivore diet, there's some arguments there about, needing vitamin C, but, what actually vitamin C does, it supports the immune system. So you may want to supplement with vitamin C for a time. That's completely up to you, but you want to lower your stress. And all the nutrients, the essential nutrients, the amino acids from protein, all help not only just your muscles, but your enzymes, your peptides, your signaling proteins, your cell receptors are all made from these proteins. They are essential. That's the word lightly, for a robust immune system. So you want to be eating complete protein, giving your body a chance to have the right building blocks. Now, energy. When you're overweight or obese, vitamin D is a steroid hormone, theoretically, which means it's fat soluble. The more adipose tissue you have, the more it's going to soak up the vitamin D and less in the blood. And this is very layman here. So it'd be a good idea to lose some body fat. Be as lean as possible. And, there's ways to do that. Obviously, I'm helping a lot of people on their journeys, but this is why, celebrating obesity is probably not a good idea. Because, not to mention, our adipose tissues, if it's made with dysfunctional fat to begin with, it all ties into this. So the leaner you are, the more muscle you have on you, the better, the more arguably metabolic health, the more healthy you are metabolically, the more robust your immune system is going to operate. And all of it ties into it. So you're going to be looking at essential nutrients, essential vitamins and minerals, essential fatty acids, essential amino acids, and it all ties in to a robust immune system. Get the right exercise, just move. It's not time to sit on a couch. The time is to move your body for your lymphatic system. Your lymph nodes need to be able to do their thing. Sleep. Worry about your sleep hygiene. Now is the time. All these foundations play a role in this. And we don't know what's coming next. I don't mean to scare you. This is not about fear. This is about empowerment. And when you take these things upon yourself, learn about your immune system. Read that book. Take some courses, whatever you got to do, because if you feel confident and understand how these things work, all of a sudden the fear factor is greatly diminished. And you can separate the bullshit from, you take it on yourself. That's the power. Hopefully this helps. We're going to get into a little bit more of the nutrients and vitamin D in future videos, but this is just a general course. The time is now to get as healthy as you possibly can, because we don't know what's coming. They're going to throw something at us, and it's not going to be fun, because there's going to be a lot of people out there that are just the same reaction. Curl up and roll into this little fear ball, and that's not what we're doing. Stay strong.